Hey, class. I just wanted to once again thank you for your patience through this navigation, and also give you a couple words on Gatsby. Again, it's one of my favorite novels I think I've ever read because I can keep going back to it and finding new things, right? And again, we have to look at the irony here of Great Gatsby. Is Gatsby a nice person? Uh, what information is Nick not telling us about Gatsby, right? So can we, again, as I said, rely on the narrator, but also the idea of this world that is the haves and the have-nots, the winners and the losers, and what it takes to succeed in a society that's judging you on how much money you make, how much wealth you've accumulated, and is that the capitalistic American dream of you are in school now so you can get a better job so you can make a lot of money, right? And the end result of that is a bunch of people who are vastly dissatisfied with their life, who have no moral values, who simply are just living in fantasy to avoid the fact of how empty their life is, right? When Nick says to Gatsby, "You're the best, you're better than all of them," put together, paraphrasing, what he's saying is what group is he talking about? And I think he's talking about the social elitist group that he has come to know over this summer, and really just to sit back and observe all these people, we would say that maybe even Nick is not really a morally pristine person. All that being said, it has that there, but then it has the also, can you repeat the past? We all have nostalgic times of growing up and things like that. And if we all went back in social media, a lot of people go back and look up old girlfriends, boyfriends, try to rekindle their high school sweethearts. And can you go back again? And it's a question that Gatsby has to deal with because he had it. He had his life thrown out with Daisy and right there, and he wanted to keep that specific night, that idea of climbing the ladder and giving her the stars and just spending the rest of his life with her. But he didn't. And one of the reasons he didn't is he had to go do his duty, and he didn't have the resources to stop and build a life with Daisy right there. He left, and when he came back, it was a whole different situation, including Daisy's daughter, which nobody ever talks about, who comes into the room. She has a daughter, and he's horrified because that really wrecks his idealistic vision of Daisy being that green light at the end of the dark of perfection, platonic ideals. Platonic ideals are perfect. It's like heaven, right? It's perfect. And what Plato wrote about was ideals could be truth, could be beauty. These things exist somewhere in a perfect form, but as human beings, we can't stay there. So we fall in love, Eros love, for 6 months, and everything's great, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, she's irritating me today. Why? Wow, she's not as good as I thought she was. He's not as good as I thought he'd be. And then it's the hair in the sink syndrome of suddenly this fantasy world of this is going to be the perfect love of all time, and love is an ideal. We have to take glimpses of it as human beings, and that's what separates us from the gods. The gods live in the ideals, create the ideals. We mortals just simply have to see little glimpses of it in between falling back to earth, right? So that's a lot of information to throw at you, but these are some of the things I've discussed when I've taught Gatsby and when I've talked to people who have read this story. And it's really a cautionary tale of no matter how much you accumulate, you can be alone and you could die alone in your pool. The idea of just taking from people without consequence is something that's also touched upon as the result of what happens when we just feel we can step on the toes of others and grab their wives, or in this case, but grab things and just move along this life without realizing the effect we have on people. So, with that, have a great Thanksgiving, and we'll be back on Monday. And again, reach out anytime to me, and if you need to meet me on Zoom, we can arrange a time. Okay.